Welcome to Gradeful, where we provide one-on-one live online tutoring for students all around the world. If you're interested in finding out how we can help you get ready for your next SAT or ACT, go ahead and reach out. If you find that our videos are helping you to prepare for your next big test, feel free to smash the thanks button and help contribute to the production of future videos. Let's go ahead and get started. Right now we're talking about comparative word problems. These are questions where you have multiple items built off of one another. And in these questions, the big tip is going to be the one that's not built off the others is X. So out of the items, one of them will be not built off of the others, and all the others will be built off of that one, and that is our X. So the best way to take advantage of this video is to pause the video when you first see a question on the screen. Go ahead and try the question on your own, and then press play to find out how to do it. So let's go ahead and get started with this question here. We have a small popcorn that costs $6.50 and the large that costs X more than the small, which is $6.50. The question is telling us that 4 small ones and 6 large ones adds up to 86. So now we're just doing our math steps. 4 times 6.5 is 26. And then we're distributing the 6 to the x, so 6x, and 6 times 6.5, which is 39, and that equals 86. Now we're combining that 26 and the 39, and that'll give us 65 plus the 6x is 86. Take away 65 from both sides. 86 minus 65 is 21, and now we're dividing both sides by 6, and we get 3.5, and that's telling us that x is 3.5, and that's the answer to our question. Moving right along, as we said earlier, the best way to take advantage of this video is to pause right at this moment when you first see the question, try the question on your own, then press play to find out how to do it. So here we have small and large sized boxes of golf balls. The large contains 60. Now that 60 we're being told is 3 less than 9 times the other one, the small. So the small will be the x, and the large is 3 less than 9 times the small. Now we put that minus 3 at the end because with subtraction there kind of implies an order there, because you can't subtract from something unless something's already there, sitting there for you to subtract from it. So a little thing about writing algebraic expression from word problems is that the subtraction has to be at the end. So now we can just add 3 to both sides. So plus 3 to both sides would give us 63 equals 9x. Divided by 9, we get x is 7. So we just found out that the small has 7 golf balls in it, and that's the answer to our question. Let's go ahead and go to another question here. Now is a great time to pause and see if you know how to do this question. So we have Jim and Jane. And Jane worked out for 12 more hours than Jim. And so the one that's not built off the others is Jim. Jane's workout is built off of Jim's. It's 12 more than Jim's. And they have a total of 38. So now we can say that Jim plus Jane adds up to 38. We can start combining. 2x plus 12 is 38. Take away 12 from both sides, and we get 24, and x comes out to 12. And so that's Jim. And be careful on these, because they could very well ask for Jane, which would have been 24. 12 plus the 12. Going on to our next question now. And this is a great time to pause the video and try the question on your own. We have the first bowl of chicken tenders and the second bowl of chicken tenders. The first is 2 less than 4 times as many as the second. So if the second is our x, then the first will be 4 times as many The first will be 2 less than 4 times as many as there are in the second. So once again, the subtraction implies order. That subtraction has to go in the end. The 4x has to be there to then take the 2 away from that. Altogether, there are 43. So the first one and the second one add up to 43. So now we're just doing our algebraic steps. Combine like terms. 5x minus 2 is 43. Add 2 to both sides. We get 45. Divide by 5, and you get 9. So we just figured out that the second bowl had 9. But on the SAT, which is a very tricky test, you can expect 9 to often be one of the wrong answers on a question like this. But if we're being asked about the first, then we can just plug that into 4x minus 2. So 4 times 9 minus 2 is 36 minus 2, so it's 34. And one word about the trickiness of the SAT, when you go to fill in your answer, that's your last moment to ask yourself, wait a second, what did they ask me? Are they asking me for the second or the first? And just by doing that, you could probably add at least around 30 points to your math score, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and go to our next question. Here we have a pool. This is a great moment to pause this video and try the question on your own. But we have the length of the pool, and we have the width of the pool. The length is 6 shorter than the width. So if the width is our x, the length is 6 shorter than that. And the area of, let's assume it's a rectangular pool. The SAT would have said rectangular. The area is a length times width. And if the length is x minus 6 and the width is x, then that's the expression for the area. And the question tells us that equals 27. So now we can distribute this x here and here. That'll give us x squared minus 6x equals 27. And then we say to ourselves, well, this is a quadratic. Something with x squared in it is usually a quadratic. And for quadratics, you get one side equal to 0. So x squared minus 6x minus 27 equals 0. And go ahead and factor that. This is BC factoring now. We just did a video on AB factoring the other day, and also ABC factoring. This is BC because there's no number in the A spot, but there are numbers in the B and C spot. And for B and C factoring, for BC factoring, you need 2 numbers that add to B and multiply to C. The 2 numbers that add to negative 9 and multiply to negative 27 are negative 9 and positive 3. Now we have our zero product rule, which says that if these 2 parentheses multiply to 0, that can only happen if one of them was 0. So we can say x minus 9 is 0, x plus 3 is 0. Add 9 to both sides here, take away 3 from both sides here. And since this is a real life situation, the negative number doesn't really mean anything to us. So the answer for x is 9, and this is our last chance to say, well, were they asking us for the width? And in fact, they were not. They were asking us for the length. So we have to plug that in here. 9 minus 6 is 3, and that is the length of the pool. That's the answer to our question. Here's our next question. Now is a great time to pause the video and try it on your own. And right now we're talking about another pool. It has a length and a width. Once again, we'll assume it's a rectangle. The SAT would have gone out of its way to say it's a rectangular pool. But the length is x, and that x is 5 more than the width. Now this is a tremendous trick here. You have to really stop and think about this. It's one of these questions that everyone would pretty much stumble over. But if this x is already 5 more, that actually implies that the width is 5 less than that. Because the thing that's already there, it already had a story to it. It was already more than some other number. So right now, if we think of x minus 5 and x, the length is actually 5 more than the width. So now if we go into our area, length times width, change the color on that, and the length is x, the width is x minus 5, and the area, length times width, is 24. Distribute that. Go ahead and get everything on one side. And factor it. 2 numbers that add to negative 5 and multiply to negative 4 are x minus 8 and x plus 3. And now we do the zero product rule where we set each piece equal to 0. And We can add 8 to both sides and take away 3 from both sides. And once again, since this is a real life situation, negative number doesn't mean anything, and the answer is 8 for x for the length. But, of course, we're not being asked for that. We're being asked for the width, which is 8 minus 5. So that is 3 in this question. Now, by the way, from here to here, that's our quadratic sequence, where at this stage we have factors. At this stage, we have roots, x-intercepts, solutions, and zeros. The SAT will be asking you about the quadratic sequence in one form or another in many, many different types of questions. So you need to be really quick and really sharp at identifying when you're in that situation, going ahead and getting the answer, and also easily switching back and forth between the two things. So moving along, here's our next question. And this is a great time to pause this video. So here we're talking about a bunch of students, a total number of students. And so on this type of comparative word problem, internally we call these comparative grouping questions, but here you want to make the total x. And the ones that have a reptile, we can call them 1/7 of the total. The ones that have a dog, we can call them 1/3 of the total. And the ones that have a bird, we can call them 1/9 of the total. So as the story goes, we have the students with a reptile plus the students with a dog plus the students with a bird plus the ones that don't have any students at all. They all combine to give you the total number of students. So I'll put a little slash there to make sure you know that's a 7, and here as well. But now we're just solving for x. So one way to do this, and there are a few ways to do this, but one way is to get a common denominator between 7, 3, and 9. And that would be maybe one common denominator would be the number 63. So that means that we can multiply this one by 9 over 9, 9 over 63x. This one by 21. 3 times 21 is 63. So that'll give us 21 over 63. Now, by the way, what is it that I'm doing? I'm multiplying by the number 1. 9 over 9 is just the number 1. When you multiply by that, nothing happens. 21 over 21 is the number 1. When you multiply by that, nothing happens. And last but not least, we'll multiply this one by 7 over 7. And it's the number 1. When you multiply by that, nothing happens. So we'll have 7 over 63x. Combine these three numbers. So 9 plus 21 plus 7 gives you 37. So 37 out of 63x plus 260 equals, well, this is a 1x here, but because we have a denominator of 63, I'm going to replace that with 63 over 63. Any number over itself is equal to 1, so we didn't actually change anything here. But now we can take away 37 over 63x from both sides. And we'll have 260 equals 26 over 63x. And when you have your x multiplied by a fraction, the best way to handle that is to multiply by the opposite fraction. So 63 over 26. And on the right-hand side, it cancels. On the left-hand side, we have 260 times 63 divided by 26. So just throwing that into a calculator. And we get 630. So the total number of students is 630. But be careful, if 630 were an answer, it would be wrong because the question was asking us about how many have a bird. And that's 1/9 of the total. So the answer to our question is going to be that number divided by 9, which is 70. And that is the answer to this question. And now going to our next question. Right now is a great time to pause this question and make sure that you know how to do the question. So here we have a total number of students. Then we have some kids who are in the Honor Society, some are in the chess club, some are on sports teams, and some are in the band. And by the way, there are 72 students left. So 7% is 0.07 of the total. 22% is 0.22 of the total. 31%, 0.31 of the total. And 16%, 0.16 of the total. The story is telling us that the Honor Society plus the chess club plus the sports teams plus the band plus the remaining number of students, which is 72, will all add up to the total number of students. So that's our equation here. Combining like terms here, 0.07 plus 0.22 plus 0.31 plus 0.16 is 0.76. Now that x here is really 1x. And now we'll take away 0.76x from both sides, and that gives us 72 equals 0.24x. And now we can do 72 divided by 0.24, and that gives us 300. So we just found out that there are 300 total students, and how many of them are in the Honor Society? Well, that would be 7% of the 300, so multiply that by 0.07, and that gives us 21, and that's the answer to our question. And going to our next question now. Right now will be a great time to pause this video and see if you can solve it on your own, and then watch the video, as we've been saying, to find out the official way to do it. But here we're talking about Malik's dessert and Jensen's dessert. Malik's dessert costs $Y. Jensen's costs $150 more than that. So their subtotal, the amount that their desserts would cost before any tax or tip is added, is going to be y plus 150. So it would be 2y plus 150. So we have the 2y plus 150, and we need to add the 22% for the tip, and we need to add the 6.25 for the sales tax. Now, we're talking about the idea of a percent of a percent. If I keep taking percents of things over and over again, you're essentially just multiplying over and over again by whatever the percent is in decimal form. But let's talk a little about what's going to go in those parentheses. If I have 100% of something and I add 22% to that, that's going to give me 122%. If I take away 22%, that's going to give me 78%. And then they both need to be in decimal form in order to use them. So adding 22% to something is the same as multiplying it by 1.22. Similarly, when we go to add our tax, we're going to be adding 6.25. So that's going to be 106.25. That is going to be the new percent after the tax is added. Or we could have taken away 6.25, which I won't bother with. But moving that in decimal form, it'll be 1.0625. So if we add the tip, we're multiplying this by 1.22. Now that 1 is the original cost of the desserts put together, and the 0.22 is the tax, is the tip added to that. And right here we'll have 1.0625. The 1 represents whatever we were paying before, and the 0.0625 is the tax that we're adding to that. And all of that is going to come out to 145.69. And now we can start doing our steps to solve this. So I'm going to multiply these two numbers, 1.0625 times 1.22, and I get 1.29625 times this equals 145.69. Now, instead of distributing, I feel like it'll be easier here to divide both sides by the 1.29. So 145.69 divided by 1.29625 is 112.39, and there are some other decimals after that. Now, by the way, I'm going to write the shortened version of that, but I am actually using the real number until the very end using my TI-84 calculator, and you should be using a TI-84 calculator for your SAT because it's so much more powerful than any other calculator you can use, and it's allowed on the test. But the advantage here is that I can call up that big number, the number that includes the rest of the decimals, whenever I need it, and I'm not sort of losing any accuracy until I round at the very end. So now, taking away 150 from that number that's on my calculator gives us 110.893446, but I'm not writing the whole number, and dividing by 2, you get 55.45 after you round. So, what was the cost of Malik's dessert? It was $55.45, and that's the answer to our question. Must have been a really good dessert, maybe in Midtown Manhattan or something where things are that expensive. So, we've got a couple more questions to look at here. In a list of 5 consecutive numbers, the 6th number, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's talk about consecutive numbers. Consecutive numbers, you can represent them with x, and the next number would be x plus 1, because if numbers are consecutive, they're integers, they're one after the other, that means they're separated by 1. So if I want to represent all my numbers, I can do as many as I want like this. This is the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. So now, the 6th number, x plus 5, is 15 less than, because subtraction has to go at the end, 4 times the 3rd number, x plus 2. So now we can start our solving steps, distribute that 4x plus 8 minus 15, combine like terms there, 4x minus 7. So x plus 5 equals 4x minus 7. Take away x from both sides and add 7 to both sides. Divide by 3 on both sides, and you get x equals 4. And so now that we know that x is 4, this number is 4. Add 1, add another, 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 and another. What is the 5th number? It is 8. And going to our last question now. Now we have consecutive even numbers. For consecutive odd or even numbers, all we care about is that they're now separated by 2. So it would be x plus 2, x plus 4, x plus 6, x plus 8. And this is our first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and we need 6 numbers here. So x plus 10 for the last one. And the 6th number, x plus 10, is 18 less than 3 times the first number. So we have x plus 10 equals 3x minus 18. Take away x from both sides and you get 2x. Add 18 to both sides and you get 28. Divide by 2. X is 14. And now we can find our numbers. This would have been the 14. Add 2. Add 4. And just continue the set of even numbers. And what is the 5th number? It is the number 22. Thanks so much for watching our video on comparative word problems. Grateful offers one-on-one live online instruction in SAT and ACT to students all around the world. If you'd like to find out how we can help you personally prepare for your SAT or ACT, feel free to reach out. If you feel like these videos are helping you to prepare for your next test, feel free to smash the thanks button to contribute to the production of future videos. Thanks so much and have a great day.